sweetie. But metaphorical dick, of course.
Metaphorical dicks?
Shut the
Hey, thanks for stopping by here at Beans. My name is Josh Larson, and this is episode 3 of Dying on the Inside. Now, this is a show where we take a minute to look back on 2020 and the craziness that we've experienced. In the same year, we've dealt with one of the most insane U.S. presidential elections and a global pandemic that shut down majority of the country. So this week, I spoke with Lynn about how she's been able to deal with live comedy being shut down and what it's like getting COVID. She tells it better than me. So sit back and enjoy Lynn, Dying on the Inside. I appreciate you talking with me. I will say I'm one of those Portlanders that's always filled with anxiety because you were one of the first comics I got to see in action when you hosted for Quincy Jones.
Oh my God, you saw that? That was that's cool.
I had just started doing stand-up. I had hit up a couple of open mics, and Quincy was staying at the hotel I worked at. He told me to come out. He got to watch me perform. It was one of those oh yeah, this is cool. And then that was the first show I went to go see. And so I've always remembered you. I've always, so there was that bit of anxiety being oh man, big time. And
no, and he asked me to host. I was like, are you fucking serious? And he's like, yeah. And I saw the lineup and I was like, I'm out of my league. So I was faking it hard, but it was nice to have someone believe in me because I think I'm a good host. I really do. And I know how to be one based on seeing people who do it poorly or being frustrated with how certain productions are done. But I'll never do that shit. So it was just nice for someone to recognize hey, I think you'd be good at this. You're like, really? Because you tell yourself these things, but when someone else tells you that, you're like, wait, am I actually, or am I just full of shit? And they believe it, and now I have to do it. But yeah, it was super fun. That was probably the most fun I ever had hosting anything.
That was super cool. I really enjoyed that show, and it was one of those we were sitting back and we walked away being like, oh, this was so, I don't know, it was cool. It was great to have that introduction. There's something with comics where because we see each other's bits, we feel like we know each other so much more. And that's that's kind of you. You're pretty open when you do your stuff. So you walked away being like, oh man, cool. I know her. I'm ready to go. This is awesome.
You know all my secrets now. Yeah, that was super fun. And it was at a real theater at the Siren Theater with the whole backstage. And so it was just oh my God, this feels like you do bar shows and whatever. And that's fun. It's where you got to start. And that's low pressure. And you have to screen to get people's attention and all of that. But this is people paid money. They bought tickets. They're sitting down. They're looking. You're on a giant stage. That stage is, I don't know, I want to say 6 feet up or something. You're on a tall stage and you're just oh wow, I this is important. This is bigger than standing on a soapbox or a pallet and he's screaming at drunk people who don't give a fuck about what you have to say. Oh, I better brush up and I better yeah, that was cool. I'm glad you were there. That makes me really happy. That was a fun show.
I always remember that. And then I think it's funny, too, because now to bring it full circle, you were at the March 3rd in Salem. And that was the last show I was able to do.
Yeah. That was super fun. My boyfriend and I went to Salem and we made a whole night of it. And it was so fun not knowing that the world was going to collapse after that. You look back and you're oh man, if I had have known, I would have got way more drunk. I would have had way more fun. I would have fucked some shit up knowing that was my last time to do it.
Yeah, my set list would have been way different.
Oh my God, yeah. Things I would have said had I known what was coming.
I guess I kind of kick off a little bit. What was the thought of January and all of this? What was your plans for this year?
Oh, I was one of those douchebags. 2020 is my year. I was so excited. I was like, this is the year that I've always wanted to host a Helium or a comedy club, whether it's an open mic or like hosting a show. I think like the Siren Theater hosting for Quincy Jones gave me that like taste of I could do this, like I'm not just fucking around. Like I could actually do this in like a bigger scale, and I want to do this and I can do this. So that's my goal. Like I want to do whatever you have to do and suck whatever, dick you have to get there, metaphorical, of course.
Wait, what?
My boyfriend in the background. All right, sweetie. But metaphorical dick, of course.
Metaphorical dicks?
Shut the fuck up. But, I just like, I want to make this like a thing. I don't want to just, ask nicely and be like, if you want to maybe one day think about me to perhaps hopefully host a thing, like just be like, hey, like almost like a resume. Like, this is what I've done. This is what I'm capable of. I want to be taken seriously. I'm taking this seriously. I want to do this. I want to get on festivals, and I wanted to, like tour and do some traveling and just kind of like spread myself into all these different areas of comedy that maybe I was too scared to do, or I was waiting for someone to give me some kind of validation. And Quincy, like, believing in me was a huge boost to that, where, maybe I was waiting in some extent for someone to give me that validation, and for someone to do that and give me that chance was like, okay, well, now that I've gotten that, I want to just go get that everywhere, like wherever I can, just do it. And I got accepted to the Mutiny Radio Comedy Fest in San Francisco, and I got to do that before lockdown. I think that was like beginning of March as well. And then beginning of April, the Memphis Comedy Festival, which I remember when I was in Chicago and I was just a little baby comedian at open mics, and all these cool motherfuckers were gone at the open mics, and the list was short for the first time. And I'm like, why is it so short? And everyone's like, oh, everyone's in Memphis doing this comedy fest. And I'm like, oh, like that's a thing. Like when you get good, you get to go to other cities and like represent the city you're from and like show off your skills and like I don't know. It just was like, that sounds like the coolest summer camp, ever, where it's just a bunch of comedians all hanging out and sharing their jokes and their experiences and making new friends and connections. And I wanted that really bad. And then I lived in a school bus in 2016, and I traveled the country for about 6 months, just doing shows or seeing family and friends. I wasn't like touring the full time, but I went to Memphis and I did a show and a couple open mics. And one of the producers of the festival like gave me their card. Was like, you should apply. We'll totally get you in. You're great. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm in. And I applied and I didn't get in. And I was so pissed because I thought that like, and that's how like networking goes. One person doesn't make decisions, but I was still new enough to think that like, if someone shakes your hand and says, I want you to do this, and it's a festival or a big production, then you're in. And my clip wasn't good. I also wasn't as good of a comic. I guess I was a little more disorganized, but I thought that was like my shoe-in, I suppose. And that bothered me. So I didn't apply for years. And then in 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm going to push my ego aside, and I'm not going to be jaded because I didn't get into something I thought I was like, I earned or I deserved or I was entitled to or whatever. Because that's gross. That's all bullshit. And if you feel like you're entitled to something, you are really doing yourself a disservice, because nothing is really guaranteed. And I know a lot of like jaded comedians who didn't get a certain thing and they hate the person who did. And instead you should be like, good for them. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try harder. That's how you get better. It's not comparing yourself or being angry or talking shit. It's just being like, okay, I'm going to try harder. I'm going to get a better clip. And so I did. And I applied, and Mo Alexander, who's a fucking phenomenal comedian in Memphis, so funny, so cool. I hung out with him when I was there as well in 2016. He sent me a message and was just like, just so you know, I'm on the panel for this festival and we watched your clip and it was so goddamn funny. If you don't get in, I'm going to raise hell. And that was like such a wonderful feeling to know, like, someone that I admire thought I was funny, because you do what you think is funny and you have fun and you hope for the best. And you don't really want to people please, but you can't deny the fact that it feels real good when someone you think is funny and out of your league thinks you're funny. It's just like, whew, am I leveling up? Like it's a good feeling. And I got accepted and it was like, I'm in the club, whatever it is. Like I graduated, I'm like sophomore or something. Like I'm not a freshman or whatever. I don't know. I'm forgetting all of the is it freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever. Yeah. I went to public school and Christian school and then did running start at Clark College because I hated high school. So I'm like, and I was homeschooled. I'm like, I don't understand education. How does this work? So yeah, it's like maybe I'm not, about to graduate into the next level, but I'm getting there. I'm getting closer. Someone who's there says that I could do it if I wanted to. And so that was definitely the highlight of early 2020 was getting in that festival. And I was so excited. And I couldn't wait to go. And I planned all of it, got the tickets, Airbnb, all this stuff. And then mid-March, everything stopped. And that was definitely like a big blow to whatever momentum that I was creating at the beginning of this year. And that was tough. But I was also definitely working way too much, burning the candle at both ends. I was bartending, babysitting, and hosting like 3 things a week. I'd never had a full day off. It was like half days. And yeah, I was a little miserable, but I thought that was what you have to do, right? To create art, you have to suffer, and that's like, starving artist or this like tortured soul or whatever. I don't know.
Those that make it always have those difficult stories of the stuff they went through. So you just assume you have to. Yeah.
It can't be easy. You have to struggle. You can't just, and there is something to that. You have to fight for what you want in life. But I don't think that depriving yourself of mental, emotional, and physical health is success either. I know a lot of comedians who have made it by whatever standard that we assume making it is. Maybe, they're not on Netflix or anything, but they're at clubs, they're touring, they're traveling. They've made it to a certain degree. They make enough money for it to almost be a real job. That's super, super, super difficult. But they're on that level that comedians aspire to be. And they're fucking miserable because they're not taking care of their relationships and themselves. And they end up just talking shit about it. They'll go to open mics to escape whatever level of success they have. And then people will be like, oh my God, I love you. You're great. Like, that's so cool you're doing that. And they're like, actually, it sucks. I hate it. And it's like, does it suck? Maybe to a certain extent, but maybe it's because you've put everything in you into this idea, but you haven't given yourself anything. So when you finally achieve that, you're just as sad and empty as you were before. Like it doesn't fill that void of like self-care and self-preservation, I guess.
Yeah, there's that bit of always being out at the bars. So you're eating bar food, you're drinking, each show you're going from spot to spot. You're in a hurry. You don't sleep a lot because you stay up late and then you got to work or whatever. It's like, not like that's what comics kind of do. We don't take care of ourselves. It is that bit of refreshingness to see people being able to have a moment. I guess it was refreshing in the beginning. It's getting old now, but
yeah, it was definitely like I wouldn't have taken a break from comedy had the whole world not shut down, because if you take a break and someone who is newer than you, not as experienced, like levels up to a level that you wanted to get to, it feels like you fucked yourself over. Oh, I didn't take a break. I was neglecting this thing that I want, and now this person who used to come to my open mic and wasn't fucking funny is super funny and is getting all the shit that I want to get, and that's not fair. And it, whether you want to, admit it or not, it is a competitive thing. Like, I do think that we should, support each other and uplift each other and give each other feedback if they want to hear it. Not always. Some people will be like, hey, I have an idea about your joke. And I'm like, no, thank you. And I walk away. Or they're like, hey, I heard your joke and it made me think of this. And I'm like, oh, like, what's your opinion? It depends. It depends on the person and your mood and how close you are to that bit. If it's a new thing, you want some feedback. If you've been doing this for a while and it works and someone tries to tell you to change it, it's like, go fuck yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. So, I mean, there's times when feedback is appropriate. But it is a little competitive in the sense where, a club can only have so many people on the bill. So if everyone wants to get in on that, then there's not room for everybody. There's room for everyone at an open mic. They'll go till the bar closes, for better or worse. But there is a little bit of that sense of competition where no matter who you are, it does hurt your ego and your soul a little bit to see someone that, whether you think they're funny or not, to see someone that you've done comedy longer, or you've gone through more bullshit, or you've gone through all of these supposed like levels of progression, and they jump ahead, and it does hurt to be like, man, it's been almost a decade since I've been doing comedy. So someone who's like super green gets something I've been trying so hard for. It's like, is it my fault? Am I not funny? Am I not asking? Am I not trying? Or are they just more tenacious than I am? Like, they're tenacious, whatever. Are they just like pursuing things with that like glow that I used to have, where they're not scared to ask because they're new. They haven't been told no enough. Yeah. To stop asking. Once you get told no so many times, you start to be like, all right, well, I'm not gonna fucking ask because no hurts.
I think my biggest fear through this, like, which is why like I've worked on a studio and all these other things, is like that bit of being forgotten. I don't want to be forgotten.
Yeah.
When the bars open back up and we get back into the mix of things, I don't want to be forgotten. And so there is that fear, and I all of us go through that, and that is, some of it's the drive. It's helpful to have, like, I have arch enemies that don't know me at all, maybe, or have no idea, because they're a challenge point for me. And without being able to see everybody now, or being able to be out and do some of it, it is, I'm like almost afraid to go back out because I don't want to know what I've lost, and I don't want to know what other people have gained.
Yeah. Totally. But I think that's kind of the weird beauty of this, is that it's not like you took a break and someone progressed. It's the playing field is leveled now. We're all starting kind of from square one. Whether you were a big fucking deal before the pandemic or you were new, when we all go to mics and shows after this, we're all going to be rusty. People are going to forget who we are. We have to remind them who we are. We have to come out with that like freshness of like, bitch, remember me. You will. Like, you have to kind of command that attention, that presence in the room. And if you had that before, you can have it again. And if you've never had it, maybe this is what you need, because it's less intimidating now that your heroes are also just as new in a sense as you are. So it is kind of like, I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see how some people might progress past people who have tried really hard, and those people might have been relying on the fact that they were a big deal, and now they're not, and that might destroy them. And some people might relish the fact that no one knows who the fuck they are, so they get to say whatever they want, Like, I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out.
When the bars first started getting shut down, what was your initial thought through this? Was this going to be a long thing? Were you prepared for where we're at now, or?
No, I honestly thought it was just going to be like a couple months, and every day it was still a thing. Like, me and my best friend, we bartended together, and I was doing a show there as well. This little like shitty dive bar in Vancouver. But I don't know, every month I was like, so still no? Okay. And then when it was like June, like, we're reopening, I was like, fuck, I don't want to go to work. Like, I feel like I got to be a kid again, in a sense of like, I didn't have responsibilities. It didn't matter what time of day it was. It didn't matter what day of the week it was. Of course, I still had, pressing matters like bills and whatnot. and I couldn't get unemployment for a while. And when I did get it, it was like a lump sum, so I could pay bills and like get ahead. And then that would run out, and then I'd be in debt again, and I'd be scared. And then it came in these weird waves of like, I'm so rich, I'm so fucking poor. Like this roller coaster financially for sure. But besides the money aspect of it, it was really nice. It was cool because nobody ever really gets that much of a break from life or responsibilities. And I know there's people who've been working through this entire pandemic and they didn't get to experience that. And that kind of sucks. I wish that everyone at least got a month off. You know, some people are sick of not having anything to do. And some people are like, yeah, I don't know what that's like. I've been working every fucking day. I'm an essential worker. Like, I never got a day off. And that sucks. And those people should be paid more. They should definitely be paid a lot fucking more. And it was also like, it kind of put this mirror in society of our only value is what we do for work and how much money we have. And then a lot of people got laid off, and a lot of people made more money from unemployment than they did from working a job. And a lot of people, like a lot of boomers or people who were working through the pandemic, like, well, no one wants to fucking work because they make more in unemployment. It's like, well, instead of seeing them as the enemy, shouldn't we be mad at the system that like we're paid so little that we all got paid a livable wage for like a second, and then it was taken away, and now we're all poor as shit again, and $600 is a slap in the face. But apparently that's what we're gonna get one day, maybe, if we pray hard enough or something.
Well, the Canadians just keep waving their $2,000 a month in our face, making us look.
Oh my god, it's crazy. Like there's third world countries that, like, my friend is she's from Thailand, and she was saying that in Thailand, they shut down the whole country. Everyone got paid money to stay home, and their COVID cases like dropped super fast, and they went back to work, and they had money, and everyone's fine. And I'm like, why the fuck didn't we do that? Like, we have all the resources to do that, but it became things that shouldn't be political got made political. And it's just really frustrating that people are playing with other people's lives for money and power and all of that. It's disgusting. And it is really showing us, like, a lot of people knew already that this country has some fucked up things going on, but now it's like, you can't deny that it's like, it's for the people, by the people. It's like, no, it's not. It's for the people in power, and they don't give a fuck about the people outside of that bubble. And this is just every day showing us more and more, like, they don't care about you. We should all be rioting, is what I'm saying. Why aren't we rioting? Like, come on, let's burn the White House down. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, or do. I don't care. But I'm fucking pissed.
This has been our like moment to show the other countries our true colors. Anybody in another country that questioned what America was like, or what we really believed in, they're all now getting to see it. That we're full of shit.
Yeah,
we talk a big game, and that's about it.
Oh yeah, and then came down to it. We're like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? Greatest country in the world, my ass. It's just funny. Like, I am baffled that there's people who are like pro-America through all this. I'm like, why the fuck do you have an American flag? Why aren't you burning it? Why aren't you pissed off? Like, working class people. The only people that should be proud to be Americans are the billionaires who've been making money out of this pandemic and are getting handouts. Mm-hmm. They can be proud as fuck. The rest of us should be pissed. I don't give a fuck your political background, what you believe in, but we should all agree that we got fucked royally when we should have just been cool and helped each other out. And I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part, is watching everybody else do it right, take care of each other. Mm-hmm. And it's not a thing for them anymore. The masks are now optional in a lot of places. They don't have to wear them because they don't have to worry about it. There's all these different things. And here we are getting in fist fights outside of a Kmart or a Target because, someone doesn't want to put it on.
It's dumb. Yeah, I'm like working at the mall. I've had people who throw a fit or roll their eyes or sigh or get mad at me when I'm like, can you pull it over your nose? Can you put it on your face? Can you just wear one at all? I'm like, it's like, bitch, this has been happening since March. Like, if it was April, I can understand that you're like, I don't like this. It's weird and different. It's like, yes, I understand the fatigue or whatever. Like people are, you know, who's also fucking tired and fatigued from all this? The medical workers.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just being a little cunt at a mall, not wanting to put on a mask when like someone's working insane hours and is constantly wearing one to save your stupid grandma who also won't wear a mask? Like, fuck you. Come on.
That's been my biggest comeback to the people who are like not wearing them, because I work at a hotel and we've been open through the whole thing. And so it's one of those where you get people trying to come to the door like, oh, well, I don't wear one. So, look, you'll be fine. I wear it for 10 hours a day. So you have to wear it for 10 minutes to talk to me and go up to your room, take it off, do whatever you want there, put it on. I wear this all day. It's not a big deal. You'll be fine.
Oh yeah, and the fact that people don't have that connection of like complaining to a employee at a place who's working, you know, up to 10, 12 hours a day. People in the kitchen are wearing them while they're making your fucking pizza. They're sweating, they can't breathe, and they're making you fucking pizza, and you can't wear it for the 5 minutes it takes to pick up your pizza and leave. Like, shut the fuck up, bitch. I hate that so much. It's like, who are you complaining to? I know that we're all frustrated with the situation, but yeah, you're not oppressed. You're fine. You're just being a bitch.
You ended up getting COVID, right?
Sure did.
Oh, I gotta be another one of those annoying ones and ask, what was that like?
Well, it's fine. I'm like happy to talk about it. When people, I love actually. This is kind of a dick move, but I do love bringing it up when people think it's not real or they're upset about the rules. I'm just like, oh well, you know, I got COVID, so. Like, oh really? I've never known anyone who got one. I'm like, I know, because you still think it's not real. Even my dad had said something like, I've never known anyone who gotten it. And I'm like, well, your daughter. It's me. It's not fake. It is real. And the thing that's upsetting to me, people feel invincible if they get it and they don't die. And death isn't the worst thing that can happen from it. You could give it to someone who could die, or it could have terrible after effects, or you yourself could have terrible after effects. And that to me is the shitty part, because it comes in waves. I can't really predict when it's going to happen, but I've had crazy nerve pain that shoots from my shoulder to my elbow to my wrist. Never had it in my life. I can barely move my hand. Luckily, my boyfriend was there during those times, and our relationship has been up and down. I mean, 2020, COVID, a lot of things. We met in January of this year. How cute. Not knowing the shitstorm we were going to go through. But I'm very lucky that he was there with me during those times, because there were times where I was in so much fucking pain. I couldn't drive a car with one hand, or I had migraines that were crippling. Just like weird nerve damage that is not fucking normal and very debilitating. And I know there's a whole spectrum of after effects, and everyone's different. So it's so hard to predict. You could be lucky. You could have no symptoms, no after effects. Good for you, bitch. But you also could. You could give it to someone that could. And so that like personal responsibility of, you know, just expect, I guess not expect the worst. I guess just prepare for possibly the worst could happen to you and people around you. If you give a fuck about your own health and safety and other people's, then you should just take it a little seriously. Like, that's what frustrates me, is the people who are just like, well, I'm fine, or I didn't give it to anyone. And I'm very lucky I didn't give it to anyone. I have people in my circle who have pre-existing health conditions and are high risk, and it would have fucking destroyed me if I would have given it to someone. Yep. So I'm very lucky I didn't give it to anyone. My boyfriend got it. I got it in June. He got it in October. And I also got really sick, and I got tested early, and my doctor thinks that I could have got it a second time, which is possible. After 3 to 4 months, they say that you're susceptible to getting it again. And this is a virus that's mutating. So, you know, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen. So just treat it like it could potentially be awful, because I got it from the bar I worked at, the dive bar, and they were trying to keep business open. So I understand that aspect. I'm not trying to just talk shit. But it is frustrating because they weren't following rules. She told us to not wear masks. She said, if you feel so unsafe that you need to wear a mask, you shouldn't fucking work here. Direct quote, which is an awful thing because I'm like, should I wear a mask? Is she going to tell me to take it off? If I decide I don't feel safe here, I'm not going to get unemployment because I quit, So it's like you're in this weird position where you don't really know what to do. You just kind of do what you can. My best friend, coworker, didn't get sick. I did. KJ did. I think another bartender, another KJ, and like a handful, I'm going to say like 10 to 12 customers got it from the bar. And everybody's experiences were different. Some people had got like blood clots and lung damage and crazy after effects and were hospitalized multiple times. Some people, nothing. Some people flu. Some people cold. It's like, how do you even predict that? That's so weird. You put everyone in the same room where they're, breathing and screaming into a microphone. There's germs circulating from the AC. And some people, nothing. And some people, it fucking destroyed them. So just treat it like we're playing the most terrible game of roulette, Like you don't know what's going to happen, but can you at least pretend like it matters? It's serious. You could get something awful. Like just for the sake of yourself and other people, just treat it a little seriously, please. Because I would not wish the after effects on anyone. And I'm lucky I don't have them right now. But like I said, I can't predict when that's going to happen either.
Mm-hmm. That's always been, I'm one of those people where like, I'll be fine. But I know that if I gave it to somebody, and that's the part that kills me. Like that makes it super easy to put the mask on. It makes it easy to use the hand sanitizer. I'm dumb when it comes to the doctor. I'll just tape it up. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine messing up somebody horribly, like having them have it go horrible and die or anything else and have it be from me. Like that's, gotta just look out for others. I don't know why that's a hard concept for a lot of the non-mask wearers.
Yeah, and it's just, to me, it just is really showing how selfish people can be, and that's upsetting. It's like, whether you believe in science or COVID or masks or the government or America or not, whatever the fuck you believe in, can you just like give a fuck about other people? Like having a responsibility to other humans is not getting your freedom taken away or whatever. It's like, come on, can you just come on? Like, no one's stoked, no one's happy, no one's like, I love wearing masks. I wish that we did this all the time. Unless they hate their face or something, but I mean, it sucks for everybody. And if we all followed the rules, we wouldn't be here still. And not only, the following the rules part, honestly, our government failed us more than other people. Because if they would have paid everyone to stay home, then it didn't matter what you believed in. No one's pissed off about a paid vacation. And that's what it could have been. We all could have been paid to just fucking chill. And that would have been great. And other countries did it. It's proven that that's a very helpful and reliable method of fixing a pandemic or calming it, I guess. And we just, America, shirt off, tits out, American flag, trucks. We just went fucking balls to the wall and did not respect anything because we feel like being a good person is, I don't know, it takes away my freedoms or some shit. I don't know.
I wish that this year all we had to deal with was COVID and the pandemic part, but we've also had a lot of political protests and the election of this year. Were you political before this year?
So it wasn't until Trump and Hillary went head to head where I was like, ooh, I need to take this shit more seriously. Because I was too young to vote for Obama in the beginning. But I was super hopeful, honestly. I was like, wow, first Black president. He's smart. He's funny. He has a good sense of humor. Like, when have we ever had a president that can laugh at themselves and can make appearances in little comedy things where, just this is a cool motherfucker. This feels like a real human is a president and not this robotic I am America or whatever. It was like, oh, a human is president. That's fucking cool. We should keep this up. And then instead we got the opposite, which was a non-human monster that is so no sense of humor about themselves, nothing funny, no grace in losing or in tragedy. Everything is someone else's fault. Can't take responsibility. Like, just, oh my God, such like, wow, did we go? The pendulum really swung the other direction when we went from Obama to Trump. That was a very sad day. And my grandma has always been political. She was actually the president of the NOW, which is the National Organization for Women's Rights. And she was the president for the whole state of California. Super feminist, super political, super badass. And my grandpa always supported her. He's also a feminist. I love them both to death. They were like my ideal image of like a healthy relationship. Gender roles didn't matter. They were just partners. It didn't matter. And she was so involved in that stuff. And I'm a tomboy. All my friends are dudes. Like, being a feminist means that you're angry all the time or something. And it wasn't until I started doing comedy where I was like, damn, am I grateful for my grandma, because this shit is rough. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm one of the dudes, I still get treated differently. It was like a big wake up call that like, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Men and women are hurting, and we're hurting each other, and it's fucked. I don't like it. I don't like the ideas that men have on how they should act, and women too. I guess like in my older age, I've realized that it's not just men are the issue. There's a lot of hurt on both sides, and toxic masculinity doesn't just hurt women, it really hurts men. And it makes me very sad to see men not be able to have like real relationships with each other or express emotions. I feel like I'm about to cry if I talk about this anymore, but it's really fucking sad. And I wish that we could just come together, and women could be tough and dudes could be soft, and we could just care for each other, and it didn't matter. It's not about like, what are you, gay? If you're like a tough woman or an emotional man, that's totally fucking fine. And so she passed away before, like, while we were still deciding who was going to run for president. And part of me is glad she didn't see the Trump versus Hillary thing, because God, would it have upset her. And I'm partially glad she didn't live through the Trump presidency, because holy shit. Yeah. But that was my wake up call of like, wow, she's not here anymore. I wish I was closer to her. I wish I would have taken it more seriously. And now I need to vote. I need to take this seriously. So I voted for Hillary. I was like, fuck yeah. We just had like a black president. Let's get a woman in here. Let's mix it up. Like, let's really just shake the dust off of this country and like evolve into what we're supposed to be, which is a melting pot of different cultures and ideas and religions and, gender identity and sexual orientation. Like, let's just be this cool mixed bag of different humans. Let's just fucking do it. And instead, America was like, no. Turns out there's an ugly underbelly of old school, awful, hateful people, and they just want this country to be this disgusting, like, militant, hateful, awful place. And it was so fucking sad. And I'm not saying that Hillary was like a hero. It just would have been nice if we gave a woman a fucking shot. That was my thought process. And yeah, after Trump, I was just like, wow, that's super upsetting, because I was in this mindset of like, well, your vote doesn't really count because the Electoral College is the one that picks. So like, it's all bullshit anyways. And then Trump lost the popular vote and still was president. And I was like, I fucking knew it. Like, I was so mad. I was like, my vote doesn't fucking matter. This is all horse shit. And that was extremely upsetting. But it also made me realize that there's a lot of things that are bigger than us, big picture, that we can't necessarily change overnight. But we can make some like effect on our community and the people around us. And that's what matters more. And hopefully that does ripple effect and get into the bigger picture, that small picture stuff. And then seeing all the Black Lives Matter protests and how ugly that went was so fucking sad. I feel like you're going to bring that up.
Yep.
Okay. Oh my God. That was so sad. Because it's again with that whole selfish thing of just like, well, I'm also sad and I want attention, so all lives matter or whatever. And it's like, bro, it doesn't mean that no one gives a fuck about you, but also can you just like chill for a second? You can talk yourself out of a speeding ticket. A Black person doesn't argue with the cops. They can't even like go home or go to the store without potentially getting like it is different. So shut up. Just like have some mindfulness of the world around you. And yeah, that was hella sad. I remember I went to one protest. Zane Thomas, my ex, who's also a comedian rapper, he was doing a lot of protests and going out and performing music and stuff, which was super cool. And I went to go see him perform. And my friend and my little sister had no idea that it was like outside at a protest. They thought it was like at a venue. And I probably should have mentioned it. I was like, we're going to go see this show. It'll be fun. And they were like, oh, we're like right in the heart of downtown Portland, like at the courthouse. And there's, graffiti and people standing around. And it was a whole event that we all kind of just like stepped in the middle of. And it was really cool to see that because there was a lot of love and a lot of support, and it wasn't violent. And the only violence came from outside. Like in that bubble, everything was fine. And during a speech, someone came by with like a suitcase that had like a speaker on it, and they had a microphone, and they were like, this is bullshit. They're not peaceful with us, so why are we being peaceful to them? Like, basically saying we should fight fire with fire. Like, why are we being the bigger people when we're the ones who are getting fucked over? And I totally see that side. And I understand and respect that because it's super hard to be the bigger person. I felt that with like feminism and a lot of things too. It's like, why the fuck do I got to treat these assholes with respect when they don't fucking respect me? I get that. Obviously not in the same sense as being a minority, but from my own experience, being a woman, I understand that like you do want to fight fire with fire. It does fucking piss you off. Fuck these people. And the woman who was leading it was just like, hey, we can't play their game. We need to be peaceful because they already see us as the enemy. And if we show aggression, it's only going to make it worse. So the best we can do is be peaceful, and that will show them, that we're trying to fix things. We're not trying to keep breaking the same thing over and over again. We're not trying to make this worse. We really are trying to make it better. And the way that she worded it was really insightful and really kind. And she wasn't telling that person like, fuck off with your hate. Like she was the whole time, great demeanor, really like very awesome leadership skills. And that was very admirable. And then as people were performing, someone with a megaphone came in and just started screaming about, you have to repent, you're all sinners, you're going to go to hell, which is, what the fuck are you doing? This was a quiet, peaceful, loving, like this is the most godlike thing I've been a part of. And I grew up religious. Like this feels like I'm in church, but for like, I want to be here. Like this is cool as fuck. And this asshole shows up like spewing all this hate. And people just started chanting Black Lives Matter over him, which was pretty fucking cool because it's just reminding this person, like, if Black Lives Matter makes you think that we're all going to hell, fuck you, but in a nice way. Just like, let's remind you of why we're here. And so they were all chanting that over him, and it drowned him out. And then I turned around and the crowd got so big, and then I saw people in uniforms, and I saw this kind of like it was like watching a pot of water boil, and like we're getting to the big bubbles now. And I was like, okay, if it was just me, I would have stayed. I wouldn't have given a fuck. Like I would have hung out. I would have wanted to see how this went down. I had friends there. I would want to make sure they're okay. But my little sister was scared, which is fair. And so I was like, yeah, we got to get the fuck out of here. And we left. And we missed Zane's performance, but he was like, hey, it's a good thing you left, because literally he was the last performer. After his performance, they tore down these gates surrounding the park, and they got bum rushed by all these motherfuckers in uniforms. He started like beating people, which is so sad because it's like and I was there for it. They were 100% like no violence, no hate. We're not doing that. This is peaceful. How did that turn into, you guys are being aggressive. We're gonna, you need to calm down. It's like, they can't be any more calm. Like, these motherfuckers are handling it. This is fine. It was so fucking weird.
That's what I hated about seeing on like the news too, would be like national media is only seeing the chaos stuff. And then, I'm looking through feeds and we get to see how the peaceful stuff and how the protests really were going. And it was very different. And then all they show on the national news is, violence that, it had to have been started by the protesters, where everybody I talk with is like, no, we definitely didn't start any of that.
Yeah. And I was only there that one time. I didn't go back after that. But like, that was enough for me to see, like, they're really trying to keep this focused and peaceful and just spread awareness. And the fact that it gets twisted into, they're thugs, they're vandals, they're criminals, they're destroying property, they hate this country, they want to kill people. It's like, are you describing you or them? Because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but that's not how this shit went
through
down.
Everything through this year, what has been the hardest thing to get through for you personally? The biggest obstacle?
This is also a year where I started taking therapy more seriously. I was going to therapy, and I think it's easy in like the hustle of life and comedy and careers and making money and all that stuff to not really like look inward or see why you do certain things. So I think like unpacking, like, why do I drink when I'm sad? Why am I sad? What's like the core of this thing? Is it because I can't control the world around me, so I just escape? Like that escapism, which at first was fun. You're allowed to stay home and get drunk in the beginning. And after a while, you're like, damn, this is getting sad. Like, I don't want to just do this forever. And why do I feel like I need to? And I guess unpacking bad habits and behaviors or harmful behaviors and realizing like what's your purpose? Because if you have this drive to do this thing that you love and it's taken from you, who are you? That's like that existential question of, I'm a comedian. Oh, that's not a thing anymore? Okay. Okay. Well, who am I? Like, what do I do now? And my grandpa's one of those people where wherever he goes out, he makes people laugh. Like, he's just casually hilarious all the fucking time. Funnier than anyone I know. Just like little quick quippy things he says, and it always snaps people out of their like customer service voice where they're like, wait, what? Like, he'll just say shit and makes people laugh and smile, and he's always cracking jokes. And that to me is like, shouldn't that be, like, comedians don't always have to be on. We don't have to like tell someone a joke, which those are awful things. But if you can just be someone who makes someone smile or laugh, because I've been on the other side of the counter and it's mostly bullshit. And if someone's real with you or makes you laugh or is kind, it makes your fucking day. So to just be like, okay, well then I'm still a comedian. I'm still fun. My audiences are smaller. It's one person or two people. It's my coworkers. It's a stranger. It's like, we all just kind of spread this like love and laughter around each other instead of like on a giant stage. And that's okay. That's important too. People need that, especially now more than ever.
That's a big thing. I think now we don't have, random interactions with strangers. I really enjoyed to have those in public, just because you didn't know where they were going to go or how it was going to be. You could be fun. But now when we go, we don't want those interactions with strangers because, now you may have COVID, so you can't talk to me. You got to stay 6 feet away, and it changes those. And I miss the giggling with my buddy at the Plaid Pantry, who, like, I don't know his name. I call him Grumpy because he always looks angry. Being able to giggle with him every night when I went in there to go pick up a Snickers bar or something from him. And like, it's changed. There's a big plexiglass. You got to be more professional or do different things because bosses are looking, and it's disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It's a totally different like dynamic and waters we're trying to navigate. I always think about kids too who are growing up in this age. It's like we're adults, we've seen life on the other side, but if you're a kid and you're developing and you're in this state where you have to wear a mask, you can't hang out with people, you can't see your friends, you can't go do things in public, you can't go to school. Like, how fucking weird is that?
I have a 5-year-old daughter,
Mm.
and this summer was so weird and different because it's like you just can't leave the house. Oh, can we go to the pool that's just a couple blocks down the street? No, we can't go to the pool. We can't go to the park. You have to become way more creative, at least as a parent, to try and keep it normal for them. But like we're going to walk away from this and have to reestablish that we can go do fun things. It's just not right now.
Yeah, that's like very difficult to explain to children. And I hope that, in a way, I hope they're more cautious. Not like they're scared of humans, but they're just maybe more aware of, like, germs or the environment, things like that. Maybe they'll be like a lot more mindful than we were. Because like I think about shit that I did before COVID, like not washing my hands and being in gross places. And I'm like, damn, bitch, I'm surprised you're alive. Like, I must have a good immune system. Maybe I was building up my defenses. They're just like, woo, I was living life wild and free. And now I'm like, oh.
All the food I ate off the floor.
Yeah, 5-second rule is like, that's not going to be the next generation's rule. It's going to be the 6 feet away from you fucking rule.
I hate you were talking about with therapy. I hate that therapy has like almost a negative connotation to it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me because like I look at it as we take our car to the mechanic, and you do it pretty regularly because you want your car to run right.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with taking your brain kind of to the mechanic so it can run properly, so you can be the happiest you? I after I got divorced, I went through therapy and loved it. I mean, I walked away because money, but it was also one of those of like, I feel better now because I have like tools to work with and to help figure out life when it comes at me.
Yeah. I love the analogy of the mechanic. I really like that. It's like getting your emotional oil change or some shit, That's cool. That's important because if you don't.
What would be for this year? What would be the at least this happened? Like there's got to be at least a diamond in the rough there somewhere.
Yes. So, I didn't have any creative outlets for a while, and I was fine with that. I know a lot of people were like, I miss open mics, I miss comedy, I miss doing this. And I was like, bitch, I'm fine with this. Like, it's good to take a break. Like, it felt really nice. But there is still a little bit of that lack of creativity and expressing yourself. And a friend of mine, he was actually a KJ who also got COVID from my bar. He approached me about this radio show, and it's KXRW, and it's like every other Wednesday at noon, called the Rogue Apostles, and that's been so fun. And most recently, the last one we recorded, they wanted to have a segment called What's the Deal with Mandolin Deal. Classic. I knew my last name was going to come in at some point. And it's kind of like, it really grinds my gears, like Peter Griffin or whatever. It's like that ranty, angry segment. And I was like, yeah, cool, totally, sure, yeah, that's fine. And I didn't have anything prepared. And then there was something that happened that week. I was talking about like doing food delivery and being in the service industry and people being impatient and sticking up for people who work in those industries, like sticking around during the chaos to basically be like, I can't wait for someone to complain so I can tell them to fuck off. Like I was like ready, like I'll be the voice of the people. I was stoked. For better or worse, I was hoping some shit went down so I could be the bouncer of this pizza place. But through that, I just did. It felt like going back in time. Because a lot of my stand-up sets come from like anger and rants. And before it's a set, it's just a brain spill of ideas and emotions. And that's not necessarily a stand-up set. I'm aware of that. It's not necessarily storytelling. It's just kind of a rant. And so to do that and have it go well and be received well was nice because like this reminds me of what it was like to like write new bits. That's cool. And I don't have an outlet to do that anymore, but I can do this on this radio show and express that. And that can become a bit when things reopen. I can be like, okay, and like listen to it and find what works and like work through it and make it, part of my like stand-up act. But that was like, okay. And we're developing kind of like our own voices and our own segments and who we are. And it's turning into this thing that's really fun. Actually, I'm going to record that later today at 6:00 with my co-hosts, and I'm very excited.
Nice.
Oh, this feels good. This is the creative thing that I've been missing. It's not an open mic, but it's me trying out new shit, me being honest, me trying to make people laugh through my anger. That's cool.
What do you think about like the Zoom shows and the Zoom open mics that they have?
It's weird as hell. I'm gonna be real. I don't do Zoom open mics. I've done Zoom shows if I'm asked. I don't like seek them out. It is cool in a sense that I've had people who live in different states or countries that haven't seen my stand-up. They get to see it, so that's really cool. I get to look as ugly or pretty as I want in my own home and get drunk for pretty treats, so that's cool. You don't really get paid, so that sucks. Or you do, and it's a little, and that's fine. People are doing what they can. But to me, it's like, it does feel like this big disconnect to where you can't see an audience and you can't hear them because at Zoom, everyone has to mute themselves so they're not laughing over my punchline. But how the fuck do I know if I'm funny if I can't hear laughter? So I assume I'm bombing the whole time, whether it's funny or not. Either like you have the images and you can see people laughing and you're like, okay, or you don't and it's just you and you're telling jokes to the void, essentially. And that's not a great feeling. I don't know any comedian who's like, I love telling jokes with no laughter. What the fuck? You're not a comic. You're a psychopath. That's terrible. That's torture. It's weird.
I did one of the Zoom open mics thinking like, all right, we're gonna make it like an open mic night out. I'm gonna have a drink. Yeah, me and the lady we'll sit in the basement. We'll do this. This will be fun. It'll get the same feeling like before. And then you do your set and you're, okay, that was silence. That was fun. Okay, what now? Like, it doesn't quite fill the void.
It does mess with your timing a little bit, too, because a lot of times when there's laughter, I feel good and I think of what I'm going to say next. Oh, they like that joke. They'll love this one. So you like are building the set almost as you go, in a way, or editing in your mind as you're on stage. But when you don't hear laughter, you assume they didn't like you, and then you panic, and you're like, they're not going to like this next joke. What do I say next? It's weird, like, mind fuck. It's something different, I feel like. Unless it's music, I feel like that's a little different. Like, you can play an instrument and be in your worlds, and that's one thing. But comedy is, and like music can play in the background of bars. There can be a live band, everyone's talking, laughing, dancing. Comedy can't happen that way. You need everyone to shut the fuck up and look at you and listen.
Yep.
And if you don't know that they're shutting the fuck up and looking at you and listening, it's like, where do you go from there? How do you have fun when you just feel like you're talking to yourself?
If you could go back in time, Doc McBrown style, and tell January Amanda something, what would be like the one sentence you would tell yourself?
You're gonna be okay.
Oh, that's such a solid answer. Oh my gosh.
Like, bitch, you fine. I guess that's the other version. But I mean, there's been so much stress and anxiety with like finances and who am I and what am I doing with my life and all this stuff. But now it's like, this year's almost over and like, you're fine. You're gonna be fine. No matter what happens, like, you're okay. And I'm lucky enough to say that. And I've been through the shit and I didn't think I would be okay. But just reminding myself, like, you're gonna be okay.
Sometimes that's all you gotta hear too. Like, it's just Yeah, you're right. Okay.
All right. And I feel that like every month, around the first of the month. I don't know why, but I feel financial stress. Rent. But I start to feel that like, oh my god, I'm broke. I'm not going to make it. I don't know what I'm going to do, and I always end up okay. So I've like really leaned into that this year of why the fuck are you stressing about something that always works itself out? Like you can make money. You're going to be okay. You're fine. And if medical debt is your biggest bill, fuck them. Like, whatever. If it goes to collections, fuck you. I've heard it's not supposed to for medical debt, and I hope that's true, because otherwise they gonna get me. Yeah, just like it's gonna be okay. And luckily, a lot of places have been very understanding that everyone's pretty fucked over by this. If you need to pay your rent late, if you need to go on a payment plan, or just tell them I don't have any fucking money for you. I feel like a lot of places are understanding, and if they're not, then they're the worst organization to exist. If you're preying on broke people for their money when they can't afford anything, let alone paying your ass, fuck you. Like you're just evil. There's no excuse for that. That's just bullshit.
Do you have any post-COVID plans? I say that like it's actually, there right yet, but there's somewhat of a light at the end of the tunnel.
I want to travel so fucking bad. I just want to go on an airplane. I know that you can. I hear it's very safe because they sanitize the air. They have like a filtration system, so it's supposed to be like one of the more safe places to be right now, as far as being like in an enclosed area. So I could. I'm still kind of like waiting things out. Also, money, so I'm not really trying to go on vacation. But I know, because I love flying. I'm one of those people, I want the window seat, my forehead glued to the window. I'm going to stare out the window, maybe cry. I don't know, I'm going to work through some shit, I'm going to have a moment. Don't talk to me. Don't tap my shoulder. We're not friends. Like the middle seat. Fuck you, you weirdo. I just want that. I just want my moment. So I'm like, next time I get an airplane, I'm going to fucking cry. Like, it's going to be so cool to just travel and go somewhere new. And flying is so magical because not only is it time travel in a sense, but also it's like just watching the world shrink is so cool. Like all your problems, it's just a cute little tiny cars, little trees, like little lake, like all these things that are huge and overwhelming and could kill us at any moment are just specks on a map, and that's a nice like perspective shift.
I grew up. My dad was a pilot, and so we would go flying all the time. And I really took for granted flying until I flew with somebody who had never flown before in their 20s. And the look on their face has made me realize, like, oh yeah, and I almost felt like I got that new feeling again by flying with them. To where now I'm one of those like, yeah, oh look out the window, look at that.
Yeah, it's cool as hell. I definitely feel like it's like also therapeutic to just see the world shrink under you. It's cool.
Wow, I really appreciate you talking with me. It's been an hour. I appreciate you giving up some of your time.
Yeah, we got a lot of time. I'm happy to give it to you.
This was so cool. I really appreciate it. I do. Where do you want like any plugs of where do you want people to go?
You can follow me on all my social media. Everything is at Amanda Lynn Deal, just my full name. But also, it'd be super cool if people check out the Rogue Apostles, that radio show that I talked about. It's on KXRW, and you can look it up online. You can listen to it after the fact, but it is every other Wednesday. So this Wednesday, the 23rd, it'll be premiering, and it's from noon to 1. It's just an hour long, but it is a really nice creative outlet. It's like a little bit of humor, a little bit of real talk, but we don't take anything too seriously. But there's like some real elements to it, and it's just kind of it's a nice like escape from the world while also talking about it. It's not news, but we talk about things in the news in a fun way. So yeah, it's nice. I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, very cool. To follow Amanda Lynn Deal on all social media platforms at Amanda Lynn Deal. And listen to Rogue Apostles on KXRW 99.9 FM or xray.fm every other Wednesday at noon or anytime online. Thank you for watching Dying on the Inside.